What's going on, Lakers fans, and welcome into episode 28 of the LakeShow Flow. I am your host, Gio. Coming on the heels of a very eventful day in Lakers land, we start off the morning yesterday with Luka Doncic's introductory press conference, and then we cap off the night with a beatdown of the Clippers, which always feels good, and also some post-game comments from LeBron James that I do want to get into. I think some people, they kind of twist and bend and do a bunch of yoga stretches of everything LeBron says, and I just want to get into that a little bit because to me, I feel like I perfectly understand where he was coming from. But before we get into all the content, I just want to say if you're new here, please like the video, share the video, let us know what you think in the comments, and subscribe. I mean, we're trying to build this channel up, trying to get some consistency going, and I look forward to all the new supporters and everything that comes with it. So, starting off with yesterday, the Lakers did introduce Luka Doncic, the newest Laker, the historical moment in franchise history. And I feel like it was an interesting one. I feel like there was some emotions and the human element was alive and well in this whole thing. Some people forget that Luka was just traded on Saturday, and then this business moves so fast. You know, you get traded, obviously, and then you end up having to be introduced to your new team within a few days. You know, there's no recovery period. You know what I mean? It's just like, boom, here's your new team. And I can relate it to, in human terms, or not in common folk terms, let's just say you get broken up with, right? But then you happen to meet like the girl of your dreams that's showing you everything that the other person didn't show, that you know what I mean? I feel like it's going to take time either way to fully embrace that new girl, right? So that's what our boy's going through. He just got dumped by a girl he thought he was going to marry and be with until his grave, you know what I mean? And it was like a family to him, you know, he had a whole family. And then it gets taken out, and then all of a sudden he meets this amazing girl. It's going to be hard to embrace. But you could just tell in Luka's body language that he wasn't 100% recovered. But it's also, there's an element of it where you have to think about the excitement of him being fueled by everything Dallas has been putting out, the damage control that's been put out, the outright, lies or overinflated things that they're talking about, like they kind of blowing things out of proportion, making it sound worse than what it was. And you could just see when he was asked questions about Nico Harrison, the GM, he had this little like really just passive aggressive like smirk on his face where he's kind of like, this motherfucker's lying and I'm pissed that he's lying on my name, but I got to keep my composure here. And he answered everything. He was very transparent that he did intend to re-sign there when they asked him if was there ever any consideration of you leaving, and he said absolutely not. Like, he never indicated to them that he wasn't going to re-sign. He had just bought a $15 million home in Dallas. So it was a lot to take in for him. And that's what I'm saying is, like, people need to understand, if you were expecting Luka to be as happy as us to have him on the Lakers, if you wanted him to be as happy in the press conference, it's not going to really show until he gets acclimated here. He also expressed a lot of happiness about being in LA, and he said not everybody gets to say that they're a Laker. And he also expressed that he's happy that the ocean's here. He said, we also have the ocean here, which is big for me. So I think he's going to get acclimated to LA and he's going to embrace it. But I think it's going to take time. So the next time we see him talking after a Lakers win, after he makes his debut, which is supposed to be Saturday against the Pacers, by the way, once he has his first game, he gets a little settled in. He embraces the culture. He embraces the city, the fans, which he already said, like, the fans have been amazing. He said it was the most people he's ever seen at a press conference. Like, there's a lot going for him, and I think it's going to be a lot of, just getting used to. And another element of this is I heard Yovan Buha from The Athletic. I was listening to him talk on his YouTube channel, and he said that Luka comes to LA, but it's also not like an unfamiliar, like 100% just strangers around him. Like, he played with Dorian Finney-Smith. He actually said, probably last year in a post game, he said that he misses Doe because they call him Doe, and he said that's my guy. And he said, I know we're gonna play together again. And now look, he gets to play with him again. He gets brought here with Maxi Kleber, who has been said to be like kind of his like just kind of a supportive friend. So that's good for him. And then as well as Markieff Morris, like I said, former champ with the Lakers, but another guy that he's familiar with. And then he also played with JJ Redick, his new coach. So he actually made a comment that was funny, where they asked him about playing with JJ, and he said, "Yeah, he couldn't move. Like when we used to play together, he was pretty much at the tail end of his career at that point. But he's like I said, he's gonna get used to the environment. And we also have an assistant coach, and I forget his name, something St. John or St. Jean. He's on JJ's coaching staff, so he's another guy that Luka knows. So basically, the point of it is he's coming to a new environment, getting acclimated, but also with some familiarity. And he also expressed that that was something that was big for him, to have some familiarity, some familiar faces. And so that's another element that I think will allow him to fully embrace this. And then if you guys are concerned about whether he stays or not, I truly believe that Luka is one of the few players in the NBA in this modern day and age where he knows what it means to put on that purple and gold, right? He knows how to embrace the history of the franchise. And I don't see him just up and leaving in a year and a half, because he not only, I mean, on top of that, he admired Kobe. Kobe Bryant always spoke highly of Luka as well. And Luka knows that. Luka even said that he wishes that Kobe and Gigi were here to see this moment of him being on the Lakers now. It means something. And I feel like even on his Twitter, since Kobe and Gigi passed, rest in peace to both of them and everyone else that passed away on that plane crash. But ever since that tragedy, and it's been 5 years, it's crazy to even think about, but ever since then, Luka has had Gigi and Kobe as his profile picture, as well as his header on Twitter. And so it just shows the level of respect and admiration that he did have for Kobe. And he even told a story before that he was playing against the Lakers, and Kobe was there. Kobe and Gigi were front row, and he heard somebody talking to him in his native language, which is Slovenian. And he turns, and it's Kobe, and they shared a moment. And in case anybody didn't know, Kobe Bryant, he would learn the language of other players in the league just so we could talk shit to him. So it was it's some goat shit, I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, you can tell like Luka bonded with him, and was motivated by him. And so that's what I'm saying, is like he knows what it means to be a Laker. He can embrace, and he's one of those few players that can embrace that Mamba mentality. And so I don't know, some people were concerned about him leaving, but you just got to give the boy some time to get acclimated to the new environment and to embrace everything that comes with it. And I think he's going to be just fine. I think we have our guy for years to come, and I have no concern. I really don't. I think as long as Rob can build around him, as long as we can prioritize him in the entire, outlook of the Lakers going forward, I think Luka is going to embrace this, and I think he's going to be ready to just basically wreak some havoc on the league, not only on the Mavericks, but just the whole league, because the discourse behind him not being a franchise guy is going to really catapult him possibly to new heights, and I look forward to that. But yeah, so the press conference was, like I said, a moment in time, a moment in history. And I think we'll remember that we had that pissed off kid in that press conference that ended up winning us, hopefully, multiple championships. But we got to see what the future holds. Now, moving on to the game that the Lakers did play a game, even though we had all this craziness going on. And this game against the Clippers, it was in their new building, which is basically a second home for the Lakers. So, that's the way I see it. It's like a second home game for them. But the Lakers were technically on the road, closing out the Grammy trip, and they end up being 5-1 on that trip as they beat the Clippers. And it wasn't just your average game. This game was like, going into the game, I think a lot of people did have it as like a scheduled loss for the Lakers. I mean, we just got we already knew Anthony Davis could be out for this game. And then we also made the Luka trade. And so we weren't going to have AD, but then we don't even have the guy that we traded for. So everyone's expecting the Lakers probably end up losing, right? Wrong. The Lakers end up getting the job done in beatdown fashion, 122-97, and it was just an impressive win, probably one of the biggest wins of the season, because It's right before the trade deadline. They don't play again until literally the night after all the trade. I mean, not the night after, but the same night of the trade deadline. That's when the Lakers play. So we're going to know by then what moves were and weren't done. And I think going into that, the Lakers do need to show, like, hey, we have potential for this year. Like, don't just sleep on this team this year. Like, we're adding Luka to this. And I love the way they played, honestly. I feel like there's been a new energy in Rui. I feel like ever since we got Dorian, and I think the reality was hitting him where he knew that, like, okay, if I don't step up, I could get traded or I could get out of the starting lineup. And I feel like he stepped up on both sides of the ball. Maybe he's been hanging out, Dan the Lakers fan, shout out to him. He's been saying that he thinks Rui's been hanging out with Dorian and with Vando because his defense has been better. And I think overall, something that JJ's been mentioning is he wants a team that's connected. And I feel like this Lakers team is finally looking like they're connected and they're buying into the defensive schemes. And without a dominant center, we had Jackson Hayes starting. We played small ball in certain instances. And I feel like they've been embracing that blitzing defense that JJ wants. The switching has been better. LeBron, even JJ said, and shout out to Jovan Buha. He brought this up on his YouTube channel, and he said that LeBron has actually had to ask out on certain possessions just because, or not certain possessions, but certain points of the game because he's actually been pushing himself on defense a lot. So if LeBron's getting tired, it means he's working. You know what I mean? Because LeBron could play offense all day and probably not even be tired. But when LeBron's actually asking out of a game, it's probably because he's pushing himself and he's playing on both sides of the ball. And so that's something that I think JJ has really allowed the guys to buy into. We've given it time. And shout out to JJ Redick because we're getting big wins, back-to-back huge wins. This one was technically on the road, but it's basically a home game. But still, the Lakers have picked up two of their biggest wins of the season, and I think it's something that can't get overlooked going into the trade deadline. And think about it. We're adding Luka to this. We're adding a top 3 player in the NBA. Arguably, some people would call him the best player in the NBA. But we're adding it to a team that in the last 3 games, the Lakers have been shooting 47% against the Wizards, 48% against the Knicks, and 49% against the Clippers last night. So, in my opinion, I feel like this team proved that they need to be bought into this season. So any move that Rob makes, I mean, hopefully they can get a bigger name, but at the same time, if we get like 2 big men somehow, some way, whether it's a trade and then we also make a buyout move or something, I think that will at least give them what they need because they need a lob threat. I mean, Jackson Hayes has actually been stepping up quite a bit and he's looked better ever since, taking over for AD after the injury. He's gotten more minutes. And it looks like he's embraced that a lot. And I think him as a lob threat, he kind of has that same body type that like a Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively would have. These guys that Luka's been throwing lobs to, right? So I feel like he can take on that role of the lob threat and give us some high energy. Maybe not as a starter. Maybe we get a guy that's better as a starter, but I really like the way Jackson Hayes has looked. Like I said, Rui's been stepping up. The things LeBron's doing at 40 years old, I mean, you have to admire it. He scored 26 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, like damn near a triple-double. If this game was even slightly competitive, LeBron would have got a triple-double tonight, or last night, sorry. But yeah, he stepped up, and I mean, Austin Reeves continues to do his thing, 20 points with 9 assists and 6 rebounds. Like, it's going to be nasty for the league because we have guys like LeBron, Austin, and of course the new addition of Luka coming in that they can all get it close to a triple-double or be on triple-double watch. Any of the 3 can be on triple-double watch on a nightly basis because all 3 of them hustle for rebounds. They all get their teammates involved and they can all score. So the offense is not going to be an issue. The hustle is not going to be an issue. An underrated factor of this whole thing is the fact that Austin Reeves, he used to be a guy that, as we got him on the team and as we've seen him grow, he was a guy that we'd actually put as a point of attack defender. Some people forget, and this is a good point that was brought up by Jovan Buha once again. Shout out to him. He brought up that Austin used to be used as like a guy you could throw out there and he would at least bug the other team's like best ball handler. So the problem with it is there's a correlation between his offensive usage going up and now his defensive consistency has gone down. But that's going to happen. Just like LeBron, it's like he has to take defensive possessions off because he's handling the rock so much, you know? So when it comes to Austin, I feel like now that he is going to be able to take a step back from LeBron and Luka that are going to handle most of the usage rate, I feel like he's going to have more energy and be able to put more into his defense. So some people, and even myself included, were thinking about, okay, is he expendable? Should we have to get rid of him? And for the right move, I'd say I'd still do it. If we got a center that was going to play with Luka for like the next 10 years, then yeah. But if we don't have to give up Austin and we can just do some work around the margins, the way Rob likes to say, and Austin can just step up as a defender, then I think this team has a lot of potential, a lot of, and not only just the team, but Austin himself has a potential to be even more useful for the Lakers because he can not only handle the rock, dish the ball to his teammates, score. He can handle his own on scoring. He's actually a pretty efficient catch and shoot player. Maybe not as much this year, but because he's handled the ball more. But he's actually really good when he has the right playmaking around him, and he also hustles. So I mean, I really think that we need to do what we can to keep Reeves on this team with LeBron and Luka, at least for this year, the rest of it, see how it plays out, see how they look in the playoffs, and really just make sure we get some guys that can hustle around them, get maybe another wing defender if we can, and also a big man or two. I think maybe preferably two, but if Christian Wood could come back and they know he's going to be back healthy this year, then I wouldn't mind him being one of the guys in the rotation with Jackson Hayes and whoever else they pick up. But the Lakers, like I said, they look connected. They have done a lot to really embrace and buy into JJ's schemes, and that's all credit to JJ. I mean, a lot of people were doubting him. A lot of people were saying that he was just all smoke and, no fire. But this guy has actually stepped up as a coach for this team, and they got two of their biggest wins of the year so far, and they had no secondary star next to AD, which is insane. So you add Luka to this team, you add any other moves they make in the trade deadline, and we have ourselves a recipe for success. So I hope that the Lakers continue to build upon this, continue to stay connected, and I hope that the Lakers can make a big run. I mean, we have Luka now, and I feel like, and I said this in the last podcast, that we have a guy that has a killer instinct that I don't even think LeBron has, Whereas LeBron looks to pass the ball in these clutch moments. He likes to make the best play. He has a guy that's going to take that damn shot in Luka. So Luka doesn't look to pass off a big shot. Luka looks to make the big shot. So I look forward to seeing that dynamic in the clutch situations, as well as just adding this guy that's a generational talent to a team that's already playing amazing so far, right? But now we get into, the last part of this, and it's LeBron's comments after the game, right? So he spoke for the first time since the trade. And obviously, with Luka, you could tell that there was some emotion behind it, right? You can tell that he was hurt. But you have to remember, LeBron, according to reports, he didn't know this was happening either, right? So going into the whole thing, like they just got a win against the Knicks when Luka got traded. And then next thing you know, he's at dinner and he gets the call or the news. And he says he thought it was fake. And then he says he FaceTimed AD after, and it really set in. And he said he wasn't going to share everything that they talked about, but it was emotional. It was an uncomfortable truth that they had to face together. And so obviously he was bothered by it. It was something that caught him off guard. It was something he wasn't, in the loop of. And so I could tell that he was bothered by that. But some people are reading into him saying like, I'm here right now and I'm committed to the Lakers right now. But the problem is the reporter, he asked him like, we bring in this young star and it's no longer really on your timeline. Like, and he said, what's wrong with that? LeBron said, what's wrong with that? Like he said the same thing I said in the last podcast on Monday when I put that episode out. I said, if LeBron wasn't happy or he was just, not going to embrace it with Luka coming to the team, then he would have just said, get me the hell out of here. And he even said that. He said, if I wasn't committed, then I would have just waived my no trade clause and I would have got the hell up out of here. So it was almost verbatim what I said he would probably do if he didn't want to be, embracing the Luka trade. And I think people took that out of context to say, oh, there goes LeBron again, not committing to the team fully and saying that he's here for now. The thing is, Brian Windhorst, who's been connected to the team a lot, connected to LeBron, throughout his whole career. And he said that LeBron wants to be remembered as a Laker legend and that he wants to do what he can to mold and to build Luka into the next face of the Lakers and possibly the league. And so that is something that was already put out by probably LeBron's people to clarify a lot of things. They said LeBron's committed to being a Laker. So I think when someone goes in the post game and they ask him where his loyalty is or if he's still going to be a Laker or how he feels about the move, I think in his mind, he's like, I already put this out there, so I didn't have to answer these questions. So then he goes back to his little like subliminal, like, well, I'm committed right now. And I don't read too much into it. I think LeBron and his family are acclimated and settled into LA. I think he's staying here for the long haul. I think he wants to retire a Laker. He said that before. And so I'm not too concerned about it. Some people just get a little too up in their feelings about everything regarding LeBron. Not to mention, there was also some discourse going on Twitter about how the press conference didn't speak about LeBron a lot. And I'm like, well, maybe it's because it's Luka's introductory press conference, right? Like I defend LeBron on certain instances, but when his fans, his player fans get involved and they're not a fan of the team, they're just a fan of LeBron. When they want to make Luka's moment about LeBron, it's like, come on now. You guys are pushing it to another level. Everything, LeBron obviously is who he is. There's going to be a ton of conversation. There's going to be a ton of passion behind, embracing him as a player. But I don't like when people try to make other people's moments about their player. It's Luka's introductory press conference. Was there questions about LeBron to Luka? Yes, and they were answered. But Rob's not going to go up there glazing LeBron when he's introducing Luka. So just something to think about in case you're on that side of things. But yeah, so going forward, I mean, the Lakers will play a game on Thursday, the night of the trade deadline. And on Thursday, we're going to see a lot of our questions and concerns get answered in terms of, will Rob pull off another masterclass and land a young center that can help the Lakers win this year and then also carry over to Luka's, next few years on the team? There's going to be a lot of questions answered. I look forward to it. I think we're all going to be glued to our, phones trying to get updates. And I'll be sure to get up on here on another podcast and break down what has and hasn't gone down in terms of the trade deadline, as well as talking about Thursday's game. And Luka does have his debut on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'll be covering everything, But for now, I'll put a bow on it. And I just want to say thank you for all the support that I got on the last episode. And I look forward to continuing this, getting some consistency here and, just getting this podcast primed and ready for when Joe gets back and we can start doing our thing again as co-hosts. So I appreciate you guys, and remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you're too shy to leave a comment, just remember to do everything else. And either way, we appreciate it all. So that's going to be it. I'll see you guys next time. Later, y'all.